So I really want to touch on the community policing aspect. Have there been positive outcomes to the papers you presented on community policing, and what were the implementation strategies you observed?
Thank you very much. When I talked about community-based engagement to peace building,
welcome, and you are on to Kaftan Television. We're reaching you from our studios right here in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. My name is Mikki Attah, and I'm welcoming you to Conversations. That's a program where we have meaningful conversations with wonderful guests who let you into their world so that you can understand what is going on around you. I must tell you that today's guest will be very engaging because he is a member of the clergy, notwithstanding he's trained in political science. So he's also a social commentator and media personality. So it's my pleasure this afternoon to welcome the Most Reverend Dr. Para-Mallam. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mikki.
It's a pleasure to have you here today.
To be on your program.
Okay, and he has come in all the way from the Plateau State capital to be our guest today, and we really appreciate him. Okay, let me give you a little bit, because his CV is so rich, I won't be able to touch on everything, but let me give you some highlights of some of the things he's done and some of the things that he is. He's the former National Director of the Nigeria Fellowship of Evangelical Students, NIFES. That's from 1993 to 2002. He's the Director of Campus Ministries. He's also the convener of Langan Nigeria Initiative for Expository Biblical Preaching. So he's an expository Bible preacher. He's going to tell us about that very soon. The Reverend is also a member of the Board of Trustees of the Chapel of Salvation, that's the Nigeria Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPSIN, Jos. He is a member Board of Trustees of the Africa Forum on Religion and Government in Nigeria. He's the convener of peace initiatives, peace dialogues, and that focuses on building peace that is predicated on justice. Very important, not peace of the grave. Okay, since 2021, he was invited by the Plateau State government to be a member and to serve on the board of the Interreligious Council of Plateau State. All right, there's so much more, but let's just start with those and let's bite our teeth into some of them. Okay, let me just start. I'll pick with convener of peace dialogues, because you say you focus on building of peace that is predicated on justice. Very much lacking, I must say, in Nigeria. Peace is like imposed. Peace that is peace where justice is in the foundation is not long lasting, is it? Tell us how you're able to make your peace dialogues, practical in the Nigerian situation.
Yeah, thank you, Mikki, for inviting me to be part of this program. It's a privilege, it's an opportunity, so I'm grateful for it. But peace, I'm very passionate about peace building. And I like to say that peace building is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you don't just attain instant peace, but you work to bring about peace. And in our Peace Foundation, which is the Gideon and Para-Mallam Peace Foundation, we believe very much in community-based engagement with various stakeholders so that we can promote peace. And peace that is predicated on justice. In in Nigeria, people like to talk about peace, peace. People want peace, peace, peace. But people don't talk much about justice, which is very strange to me. And leaders in Nigeria make speeches and public presentations, and everybody lofty ideas. During Christmas, everybody talks about peace. During Ramadan, as we just ended, everybody talks about peace. But it's so strange. Justice is always silent. Yet, without justice, there can never be peace.
Without justice, there can never be peace. Take that home. Okay, continue, please.
Yeah. So, we've engaged in community-based dialogue to promote peace. We've done that in Southern Kaduna. We're seeing results in Southern Kaduna. We brought together young people to hear their voices, to hear their concerns, to listen to them. But we also don't just go to hear from them. We also get them to speak to themselves for cross-pollination of ideas, because you can learn from your peer. We brought together also women groups. Women are very important. In the course of my peace work and advocacy, I discovered that in the sorry state of our insecurity in Nigeria, women and children have suffered the most. They are mostly the victims. They are mostly the soft targets that those who engage in acts of violence target. We've also brought together traditional rulers, religious leaders, community leaders, politicians to the table of conversation, because peace is about dialogue. Right. So when you listen to other people, it helps you. Now, we do our peace building work in the context of helping to bring Christians and Muslims together. So I use Southern Kaduna as a starting point, but we actually, and that's involved at the state level, but we've replicated SEN in Plateau. We've replicated some of this in Benue State. We've replicated this in other states by inviting people to come, but like Nasarawa State twice, but the other states I just mentioned, we went there. And right now, incidentally, as I'm speaking with you, we're involved in wrapping up a peace intervention in Southern Taraba, looking at Wukari local government, looking at Takum local government, and also looking at USA local government, where things have not been so okay, but we're also beginning from the testimony of the people to hear that the intervention we began in September last year is yielding some fruits as of today.
All right. How about the issue of like being the membership of the interreligious council? Because Plateau State, I remember, because I grew up in Zaire, and I remember it was so much fun spending the weekends in Kaduna, and then lots of fun spending longer holidays in Jos. And Jos was just lovely. It was totally peaceful. And then when it started crisis, it was like, there's never been crisis before in Nigeria. It was so heavy. And then it seemed to have subsided. Only for it, like you said, to rear its ugly head again. What is the situation right now in Plateau State?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's good. I mean, I just drove in from Jos today, so I can comment in an informed manner. But serving in the Plateau State Interreligious Council was a body set up by the former governor, Simon Bakola Long, and we tried to rally around to work with him, support the government, and to promote peace in Plateau State. And I could say that we achieved some results. At least the Bassa Peace Accord that brought together the Irigues and the Fulanis, because there's been some of the scenes for deadly violence and mass killings between 2010 and now. And yes. So we have to sign that peace agreement in 2022. I can say that since signing that
2010, and the accord will now be signed in 2022.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Well, that's because significantly when people are fighting and they're bent on just killing. And there are merchants of violence, let me put it that way. So merchants of violence sometimes will instigate people to continue on that path. So the Bassa has suffered several attacks, to be honest, some completely unjustified sometimes, lots of it. But cut a long story short, we're able to sign that peace agreement. There are still disturbances, rumblings here and there, but it's a measure of stability experienced in that place. So that interreligious council no longer operates. So the current government of His Excellency Barrister Caleb Mutfwang is actually working to inaugurate a new peace council sometimes next week, to the best of my knowledge. Now, I can say that Plateau State, like you rightly observe, has been a very peaceful state. Just like you observe, people go to Plateau State, they know that they're at home. And then all of a sudden, from 1994, when the Jos North local government was created, some kind of rumblings that had violent inclinations were being felt. And then you fast forward to 2021, on September 7th, there was massive violence. Really, really terrible violence. And even some of us, rarely, our lives were even threatened for just traveling on the road. That I can tell you. 2008, again, because of local government elections, the whole state was nearly set on fire because people will not accept the outcome of the elections in Jos North. So you can see Jos North 1994, Jos North 2021, Jos North 2008. Just look at that pattern. And then again in 2010, on the 17th of January to be precise, an attack took place in a church, totally unprovoked, because I went to that church myself. When the pastor was still preaching, when some young Muslim youths, and please, I don't call this to profile, but I call this because it's important that the facts are out,
right,
burst into the church, brought a motorbike with a tank filled with fuel, set it on fire. Of course, the worshippers disappeared. Some of them got killed. And if after that, Jos experienced what I would call a cascade of violence and killings all over Jos and environs. And let me say this. 3 days after, because a state of emergency was declared.
Right.
A curfew was declared. And a few days after that, I decided to go to the church to see things for myself. You know, there's a small carving that I have. I don't think I still have that photo, and I snapped it on an old camera. You know what I saw there? Islam is peace. What a contradiction that I saw in there. But I haven't said this now. We had to rally around. And it's in that 2010 that I decided to reach out to some of my Muslim friends and said, look, let's have common sense. Let's have common sense about making sense of our situation. And we began. And that's how the journey for our peace building has been. So, Jos, even today, in spite of all the rumblings, is still one of the most peaceful states in Nigeria. You can quote me, and I'm speaking on set. Jos is still peaceful. So there are people hell-bent on making sure that Jos is set on fire. But I can tell you that right now we have the political will in the present governor to work extremely hard to make sure that we have peace.
Okay. You touched a little bit about the killings in Benue. Even in my other television programs, people call in, especially the live programs, and they're filled with horrible tales, lamentations. In fact, most recently, street protests about the mayhem, the killings, wanton killings and destruction of property in Benue State. Does your, is it an NGO?
Yes,
okay.
It's a faith-based
NGO.
Yes.
Do you extend to Benue State?
Yes, I mean, when I mentioned an intervention we did in 2021. Yes, I actually went to Benue State. And by the way, I'm very involved also in Benue State. I've been following the situation in Benue State. Benue State is very unfortunate right now. And again, honestly, political will has to do with working the peace. Make peace. You don't get peace on a platter of gold, but you also need to work for peace on the basis of justice. I need to say that. Benue is unfortunate. I'm in close touch with a few leaders in Benue, and the Anglican Bishop of Otupo is a dear friend, Right Reverend Benjamin Ewuchola, and almost on a daily basis, we connect on the situation in Benue, particularly Agatu. Lots of killings and other places in Benue. So yes, we're involved with Benue. We are trying to see what we can do. Anglican Bishop has extended invitation to me up to 3 times now to see if we can go to Agatu. And we will, well, of course, Otupo side, Agatu and the rest of them, because I restricted our involvement to mostly only Makurdi and some of the other environs, But yes, so Benue, it's an unfortunate situation. And I commend those youths that came out to protest. I think all Benue people and all peace-loving people in Nigeria should come out and protest some of these killings taking place all over Nigeria, not just Benue.
This political will, is it on the part of the state government or the federal government? Whose political will is needed to be ignited to make some sense of the killings, some let down in the killings there? Who are we to look to?
There has to be, thank you again. I'm glad you asked that question. Is pointed, and I made my comment very aware of what I'm saying. There has to be synergy. There has to be connection. There has to be agreement. So I'm talking about political will from the state, government, governor in particular, as the chief security officer, but also political will at the federal level. The president. Now, you need to know that although the governor is the chief security officer of a state, the instruments of power, the army, the police, they're all controlled at the federal level. So the state government needs to move. State governors need to identify with their suffering people, citizens. They cannot go there and serve the purposes of power just for themselves. They've got to think about the people because they're there because of the people. If the people didn't vote you, you won't be there. So if they kill your people, show good political will to stand up, any governor, and identify with your people. So that's what I'm saying, that the state governor needs to do more for Benue State. Let me tell you this. Last week, Thursday, 13 people were killed in Boko's local government of Plateau State. You won't hear it in the news, but the governor of Plateau State found his way there to comfort the people. The people just seeing him coming there, they were elated. They were happy, even for nothing. It's what I call the ministry of presence. Your presence says a lot. But if they kill your people, you don't go, it says a lot.
It says a lot too.
About you as a governor. Because you're governor to serve the people. You're not governor to be served by the people. I'm not being critical about anybody, but I'm really trying to say to our governors, please could you care for your people? Whether it's Zamfara, the people come first. Whether it's Katsina, the people come first. Whether it's Sokoto, the people come first. Please don't give in to people who all they want to do is milk from the state and they don't care about the people. Governors should stand up and govern for the ordinary people, ordinary Nigerians. Listen, my dear sister Mikki, too many innocent Nigerians are killed and people in power are not doing enough to protect lives and property. They killed 13 people last week. Just yesterday now, we're getting security reports that about 16 people have already been killed. 4 people killed, they picked up their dead bodies. on my way coming here, somebody on the field called to say that 15 others are declared missing. And then he said they found some of their dead bodies. A lot needs to be done to end the killings in Nigeria.
Right, I totally agree with you on that point of political will, because I notice there's so much political will when it comes to political issues.
Yes.
What else is government for but for the welfare, one, and the security of people? That's the essential essence of government. Outside that, we don't need government. There are other, there's the police, if it's for keeping the laws. There's the courts, if it's for justice. We need government because they are saddled with the task of the welfare and the security of the people. I find it strange, and I want to know how you feel about this. If there's going to be an election, you have 10,000s of troops, of police, of army, of all that. Marshaled over, maybe if it's a Edo state having the next election, marshaled, you're going to see what will happen in the next Anambra state election. But up till now, we don't see that same kind of political will or energy channeled to Benue State, which every blessed day, like you rightly said, before this day comes to an end, by tomorrow the news will be so many more, God forbid, I'm not predicting, but so much more killing taking place there. This political will needs to be seen. You're not only to say it, you're to do it. I want you to emphasize again on that political will. This is not criticism. We're having a conversation. These are conversations. These are things that need to be said. Because God forbid, at the end of it all, we're not going to stay here forever. What will it be said of you that when you saw all this, you were just busy keeping quiet and struggling for gari for my stomach? There's more to life than what you're going to eat. Like we always say all the time, not only security agencies, even we in the media, if you see something, you say something. So please re-emphasize that point on political will.
Again, thank you, Mikki. The truth of the matter is that I believe in what I'm saying. And I'm 65. And it's no longer the time to pretend not to know, to pretend that things are going well in the country, when you know that things are actually not going well. Now, like you rightly observed, the truth is that once there's an elections in a state, it's amazing the number of policemen that will be mobilized. Sometimes even the army is put on alert because of elections. Summary, one sentence: the politicians have misplaced priorities. Abraham Lincoln, whether he's the one that gave the definition or it's attributed to him, but he declared it that democracy, it's about being the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So the people are central. Now, democracies around the world right now, democracy is on trial around the world. And so Nigerian politicians need to put the people at the very center of their policies and governance. No doubt, some state governors are demonstrating political will to act. No doubt, based on certain information I have, I think that the president also, in the area of security, is demonstrating political will to end the insecurity. But let me be honest, because this is a public interview, are some of the power brokers in Nigeria really interested in ending the insecurity in this country? Because some of our people, because of the way they criticize without having the facts, the weakened government. So you have a combination of those who are in government who lack the political will, and when those who try to stand up, there are people who are ready to pull them down. I think we need a balance. So the political will on the part of the government needs to come out strong, no matter the level of opposition, no matter the level of attacks you receive. Let's go for what is right. And I know some state governors who are really committed to ending insecurity in their states. I know for sure, because I live there in Plateau State, there's the political will to end it, and steps are being taken to end it. But there are also those who, all they want to see is more crisis in Plateau State. But we will continue to work to make sure that those who want to destroy peace on the plateau do not succeed. They won't see the light of day. Kaduna State Governor, he's also working hard, Ahmed Sani, His Excellency, he's working hard to make sure that some of the killings end, and quite frankly, the killings have reduced in southern Kaduna.
True.
So you've got to give commendation. This governor in Zamfara is also working hard to make sure that it's controlled. He should be supported. There should be no counter steps from the federal government to reduce his influence and his efforts to end the killings in his state. The governor of Taraba is also trying. So there are a few that one can point to, and I'm not pointing to them just sitting there on this studio. It's based on what we know.
Borno State. Borno State has also stepped up to the plate. Before, Boko Haram was like the daily bread we were having to eat in Nigeria.
But I think it's more from the federal government, quite frankly, when it comes to the issue of Borno State, from the little that I know. And because you've mentioned Borno State, let me mention it here.
Right.
And again, honestly, I don't mention this because I'm a clergyman, but many Christians who have suffered the most in Borno State are feeling marginalized, neglected, and ignored by the current government. It's hard, pill, but it has to be said.
Right. On that note, we're going to take a very short break here. We'll be right back with the conversations. Don't go away. Welcome back, and it's still the conversations on Kaftan Television, and our guest is the Reverend Gideon Para-Mallam. Right, we were talking a lot about security, we were talking about events going on in the nation, very unpalatable, one must say. But we have noticed that from your CV, Reverend, you have presented several papers on peace building as well as community policing. So I really want to touch on the community policing aspect. Have there been positive outcomes to the papers you presented on community policing, and what were the implementation strategies you observed?
Thank you very much. When I talked about community-based engagement to peace building, I wanted to make a comment about community police, but I decided to leave it, and I'm glad that it came up in our conversation. If we're going to address insecurity in Nigeria, we cannot run away from community police. State police, that's the other word for it. Some people don't like it, but we need state police. State police that has a very clear responsibility to maintain law and order at the community level. If we have an effective state police, we empower the state governors to do what they need to do. A lot of these killings taking place in our communities will become history. I believe in community policing. I think I delivered my first paper on community police in 2018 at the National Institute, NIPS, of Policy and Strategic Studies. And I made recommendations. Of course, the lecture series, the focus on community policing. That's how I got invited to speak, also because of my peace building activities. But when I later heard conversations at the national level concerning the presidency promoting the idea of community policing, I kind of wish and I prayed that the recommendations that some of us made in NIPS made it to the presidency. Obviously, they would submit a report to the presidency. So I kind of hope that they may be building on some of those thoughts. Not just from me, but from several others who are by far great experts in that field. Okay, I'm just coming in because of my commitment to peace building and believing in community approach to getting peace. Yeah. So yes, state police is required. Remember, we talk about political will. The truth is that we need to help some state governors to actually put their political will into action by having access to be able to control and manage their communities. Now, will they be abused? Yes. But just because they'll be abused, it won't stop us from going on the path that will help us. Every medication you take, the medical doctors say, I hear, has side effect, isn't it? Would you, because of the side effect, not take medication if it's prescribed to you by a doctor? Yes, there will be bad sides on state police, but let's look at the advantages. For me, the advantages far outweighs the disadvantages. Look at Benue. The killings, constant. Now look at Plateau State. There are rumbles. It's like people are just itching to strike again and throw Plateau State into confusion. But we won't let that happen. We will work together with the same communities to end it. But if you have the communities defending themselves with state police, nobody will just go and attack a village and kill people. Yesterday, women were in the church, women fellowship. They were attacked in the church, gunshots, they ran. And now I spoke with a woman in the hospital, a pastor's wife, on my way coming here. She's with gunshot wounds and her own daughter in the cottage hospital there. And when I spoke to her and asked her what happened, she said they were just in the market trying to make ends meet when suddenly shooting started and they scattered, ran helter-skelter. And that's why I'm hearing now that we may have lost close to about 4 people clearly certified dead because they found their dead bodies. 15 people, they haven't discovered them, but they've discovered some bodies. That will not happen if the communities are defending themselves. So I talk about state police in the context of community self-defense. We cannot run away from self-defense in Nigeria. Benue, Plateau, Zamfara, Katsina, all those places. We've got to encourage people. It's their constitutional right to defend themselves. We shouldn't discourage them. I'm not saying the army should do its work, the police should do their work, but they should allow the communities to also do their work in protecting themselves. Those people who come to attack you with AK-47s, very sad. Because from what we heard from Bokos, there were armed Fulani herdsmen that went to attack them. Why should that persist? Should it be persistent? Why should it continue? It's exactly the same thing also in Benue State. Why should it just continue unstopped? The army is doing its best. I commend their efforts. The Chief of Defense Staff, I know they're working extremely hard, but they need to do more. The governors need to do more. The president himself needs to do more.
You see, it's that abuse that those people who are opposed to state police are very, very, that's a sticking point. And from the attitude displayed by our governors today, like you said, there are some who are showing interest in the people, very few. The others are showing complete interest in themselves, their stomach, their family, their political cronies. Now, with that same attitude, many fear that by the time you bring in state police, the killing we're having today will become child's play. Everybody who utters a word, even we who are broadcast journalists, will be operating in danger. You sit in your house and say, oh, look at what happened the other time to a youth corps member, that the government or the president is terrible. You are gone. Oh, the governor is terrible. You are gone. Talk much less, because all of them come in with this attitude that it ought to be 8 years, 2 terms. Nobody comes in looking at what the Constitution says, that it's a 4-year term, renewable. No, they feel it's their right. So by the time the next election cycle comes in, everybody else who's going to contest against them and their supporters gone. From their attitude displayed today, that is not a fear that anybody can, oh well, this isn't. So this is what those who are opposed to state police have as a sticking point against it. So how would you be able to dispel those fears in light of, like I said, practical illustrations of some of what the governors have been doing and showing to people who in any form criticize them?
Thank you very much again, Mikki. But can I just say that they're legitimate fears? And honestly, I sit here, even though I'm an exponent or a proponent of state police, community policing, I wouldn't deny those fears. But as I asked when I spoke before now, okay, Nigeria is sick. The insecurity we see is a symptoms of how sick Nigeria is. When you are sick and you go see a doctor and he prescribes medication, there's hardly any medication you take that doesn't have side effects. I'm repeating this again. Would you, because of the side effect, and believe me, Mikki, some side effects have been very terrible on the patients. Would you, because of that, not do something about your medication? You will do it. I'm a preacher. Okay, there are those who believe that you shouldn't take any medication. That's a conversation for another day. But I'm using it to illustrate a point.
Yes.
I agree that those governors, presidents could be in a position sometimes to abuse the state police, but it still does not stop us from having state police. Now, I ask you this question. We've been under federal control, isn't it? You've asked me a question, now I'm asking you a question. Yes. Everything has been centralized. The police centralized. The army centralized. Okay, it's understood. Army everywhere in the world, they're centralized. So that's a given. It's not a problem. But the police has been centralized. What has it done to control crime, law and order at the state levels? Has that federal might translated into protection of lives and property at the state levels? No. From what I've seen in Jos, no. We've got to empower the community. My argument is that let's empower the community to defend themselves. And if state police will be the way to that path, I go all for it. And when you are talking and asking me the question, I sit and I'm thinking, think about the Wild West. America called the Wild West. Why was it called the Wild West? You've got to get to a point in which you've got to allow people to defend themselves. Otherwise, we will not stop the bad guys. A situation now in which people with AK-47 are roaming our bushes, roaming our farms, roaming our forests, killing people. Nobody does anything about them. Please, just for a moment, think. If some of the farmers are also armed with AK-47, who will go and touch them in their farms?
Yeah, that brings me exactly to our next point, because some other people have also mooted the idea that isn't it high time then that the government allows citizens to arm themselves and protect themselves?
Honestly, because of what I have seen of insecurity, and I know certain security experts would argue and say, oh, why should he be talking like that? Believe me, I have thought through the situation of insecurity, the constancy with which some of these killings are taking place. I don't see a way out without giving people permission to arm themselves and protect themselves. So I believe that, and I'm ready to pick this conversation with anybody. Nigeria, you like, how can I put it?
You like treating the symptom and
leaving the real process. That's serious. But also, let me add something on the point you made over the issue of governors misusing the police. We will not always have bad governors. We've had it bad. We've had some good governors. Let's hope that certain governors who are good will continue to lead will lay an example to challenge others who are aspiring to be governors to be different than some of those who are there now. That's all I would say. But also, democracy, like I said about peace building, is a journey. We won't arrive at that destination in one single day. It's going to take time. And maybe I appeal to Nigerians. It's not even a maybe, it's a direct appeal. We need again to continue to vote for the right people. Please don't get me wrong. But one state, in Plateau State, people voted for the current governor. I'm going back to Plateau State because you asked me what are clear examples I can use, isn't it? When the people noticed that the election could be tampered with, nobody spoke to anybody. Young people went to the collation center. They occupied those collation centers and said the results must be announced based on the popular will of the people. They stood. I participated in speaking to some of the young people in those collation centers. I got in touch with other people that I'm not going to comment about here to just make sure that justice is done. I did that on the path of justice. If somebody wins an elections, whether he's my friend or not, give it to him or give it to her. And people stood. The time is coming that bad politicians will not always continue to have their way. It's happened in other places. In Burkina Faso, what happened? The people went and occupied the House of Assembly. Everybody ran away. Eventually, they took over and there was a change. That time is coming in Nigeria. Please, let's be comforted. All these horrible things, corruption, people who are so self-serving, the time is coming that Nigerians will rise up in unison. I don't believe in destruction. No, I don't also believe in an activism that does not have a clear purpose of achieving power for the people.
Yes.
But the time is coming when Nigerians will rise. All these horrible governors will not find peace in their mansions.
Right.
Whether in their state capitals or in Abuja.
Abroad. Okay, well, another trending issue in the country, which I would like to pick your brains on, is this issue of the lynching in Edo State, where 16 people. Well, if you speak to anybody from Edo, some even call and they say, oh, look, those people killed were kidnappers. You speak to non-indigens and they will say, oh, those were innocent travelers and all that. Anyway, all in all, non-indigens were killed. And it's generating a lot of heat and a lot of, should I say, tribal fault lines. But what would be your take on it? Especially, I want you to narrow your perspective to this perspective of jungle justice in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Mikki, again, that's a very sobering thing. I've been thinking about it. I'm also getting calls and people have asked me, what are you thinking about what's going on? You know, at first I didn't catch up with the story, but now I'm digging deep into the story.
Yes.
Now, from the little of what I heard, all of these guys are supposed to be hunters and traveling to the north before they got stopped. And when they got stopped, they wanted to inspect a particular vehicle that they, based on local intelligence, had weapons there. And before they could, you could say Jack Robinson, one pulled out a knife and stabbed one of the vigilantes group. That's the part I've heard.
Continue.
And so because of that, the others then decided, the vigilantes, to just pounce on all of them and kill them. Do I believe in jungle justice? No. Is jungle justice right? No. Can this country survive public lynchings in jungle justice? This country will not survive it. Why? Nigeria is multi-ethnic. Nigeria is multicultural. Nigeria is multi-religious. If we go that route, you don't know who is going to die anywhere. Because Nigerians are scattered. We live all over the country. We cannot afford to allow jungle justice to see the light of day. But I have a fun, and please, because you've asked me, I want to extend our deepest condolences to the families of those who have lost their loved ones, both in Kano and also those who also have died as a result of what happened in Edo itself. Because the person who was knifed probably died. He probably has a mother, has a wife, has parents. They too, they're mourning. I think we need to show balance and give comfort to all. Now, please, I ask myself, and it's much larger. If it is true that they are traveling with weapons, why are they carrying weapons? Hunters? Who gave them permission to leave Kano to go and hunt in Edo State? Honestly, there are many questions that I haven't found answers to.
More questions than answers.
Exactly. So I think the government needs to get to the heart of this matter. Find a way to correct it. Do we have laws that guide us? Now, again, I've received TikTok videos in which they are warning that they're going to attack Christians because of what happened in Edo. Will that be the solution? No.
Reprisal attacks.
Exactly.
Still talking about the same jungle justice that we're talking about. So we really want to stand on the point that the Reverend is making, that jungle justice will not take us far in Nigeria. In fact, jungle justice will end up eliminating everybody. It's going to be like a sea sucking everybody in. So I really want to stand with a whole lot of your opinions, Reverend. I think I would like your advocacy to continue. In fact, we'd like you to come back again the next time you are in Abuja to also be guest and throw more light, give us more insights, give us more information, give us more tips on how we can actually go in for what you said is peace predicated on justice. That's exactly what Nigeria would possibly need to stand on, and from there get into real nation building and not this papering over the way we have been doing it. It's been a pleasure this evening speaking with Gideon Para-Mallam all the way from Jos to talk to us about so many issues bordering on security, peace and justice. My name is Mikki Attah. That's been the Conversations. Our time is run out, but he has promised he'll join us again when next he's in Abuja, and it will be a pleasure to host you on this program. Thank you for watching. Good night.